Everybody going through it. Everybody going through it. But we still gotta pursue it. Gotta do it. Cause we all going through it.
Now, when you got diagnosed with cancer 5 years ago, did it kind of sideswipe you? Or did you see it coming?
No, I knew I was still working, but I know I was having a hard time getting more and more tired, and I didn't know what it was. So like a year ahead of time, I was starting to slow down because I had a problem with, I found, well, actually, my dog found it. He was never really affectionate, and he just buried his nose in my chest one day.
Wow.
So much so, and like deep breathing, that I was like, okay, okay, okay. I had to push him off of me. I adopted him when he was older, and it totally out of character for him. But it always stuck in my head, so I always checked to see. And then when I got a lump, I was like, okay. Then it got bigger, and then when it started to get painful, I went to my GP, but it took a year to get diagnosed because the local uh, uh, imaging place, who was supposed to do the biopsy also, were putting it off. And finally, when I aggravated them enough, they said, "Oh, go to our other office if you're in that much of a rush." But because I had waited that year for them to get it diagnosed, I had stage 3A.
Wow.
And A means it's broken out of the tumor and it's gotten into the body. So they not only did I do 5 months of chemo with 3 different chemos, it had also had the surgery with the mastectomy. They took 17 lymph nodes out, which nobody told me that 17 is a lot, until I ended up going to group therapy, because I learned so much more there than from any of the providers, the doctors, the nurses, or anyone. They really clued you in, the other patients, on what the deal was and how to get things done, how to get disability, how to move forward.
Yeah, that is for sure. My God, Seamus. So how did you, what I'm fascinated, because I don't think we ever really talked about it, but when you first got diagnosed, I mean, that doesn't seem like, were you surprised? Because it's like when you felt the lump and your dog was nudging you, which is amazing, by the way.
Well, I found it. I addressed it years and years after he died. But he made such an impression that I never forgot it, and I always checked every once in a while.
Really? So how many years before you actually went in to go and get checked? Like, when was your dog nudging you? Like a few years before?
Oh yeah. He was dead for a long time before.
Wow.
Before I went and got checked.
Okay.
I guess if I had gone then, it would have been so small. It would have been like a needle biopsy or something.
Mm-hmm. But
it ended up being like golf ball size.
Do you think part of that? Do you think part of that too, though, was because, like, why would you go and get checked? Because like for women, it's a no-brainer because they constantly pump us, for years. Go and get your mammogram. But for men, that's like, why would you do that, right?
Yeah, I knew other guys who, like, I had a boss who he had like this cysty thing under his skin and his forearm, and I had gotten stuff like that before, where you just get a lump, and it's just it's nothing. So I did breast cancer for me didn't even register. And when I was going for treatment, they were saying that there were, whatever amount of women get it every year, but 400 men would get it every year in the U.S.
Wow. And you know what? That might
Now
not be a big number,
grown
but
a lot better.
That 400 every year might not be a big number, but it is when you're one of those 400, right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing. That's why I wanted to emphasize that. I wanted to ask you that story because I think it's important for other men to hear, because they might not know. They might just have been like you, and if maybe they don't have pets to nudge them and to say, hey, you know what? Get this checked out. So you actually felt, was it a squishy lump? Was it a hard lump?
No, it was kind of hard.
Mm-hmm. Was it painful?
Yeah, eventually it got quite painful. I would have to rub it to, like, kind of like rub the pain out of it.
Wow. And at that point, you didn't even think it was cancerous or malignant, right?
No, no.
Why would you?
But from the images that the other imaging place I had sent over, when I came in, I was waiting and waiting, and they didn't even have me come into the office. I stayed in the waiting room. They had a nurse come out and take me directly upstairs for a mammogram, and then the doctor did the biopsy herself.
The
and
needle
right away,
core?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the nurse did it, but I don't think the doctor even looked at what the nurse did. The doctor came in and did it herself, and then they also put a what do you call it, like a titanium tab in there or something, just to mark it, a tab, some kind of tab, so that it would be easier for them to find. But I don't know. I guess that's just out of habit, because it wasn't hard to find. A new oncologist, and I'm still on the extemethane because the what's the one with the T? The whatever.
Yeah.
The first medicine they put me on after the radiation, 6 months later, tamoxifen.
Tamoxifen,
They put me in the hospital for the week with blood clots in my lower left lobe of my lung. And there's still a problem because I just got another CAT scan, and she's got me on Lupron now.
Yes.
Which is kind of loopy because the first time I had a bad emotional reaction. Finally, somebody explained it. Yes. The last time, the nurse, she said, "Well, that's the hormones."
Yes.
And this time, it was just I didn't have that, but it was like exhaustion on top of the daily exhaustion.
Yes.
Which was just like unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to talk about. That's why I wanted to bring you on here so badly, because I think it's been 14 years since I've stopped doing treatment, even though I did 10 years of it. And I still remember it, and I still have issues with certain things. And so talking to someone who's going through it actively right now too, you don't hear much of that. I mean, you hear some things on social media, and then you'll hear about, what to eat, what not to eat, and this and that. But we're not addressing the mental health portion of it. Because it really does take a toll.
It doesn't really care about mental health.
Some people are starting to talk about it. New generations are making a huge stink about it on social media, right? But then it kind of goes sometimes off into maybe a little bit of a, for lack of a better word, new agey sort of way. And I want to bring about it in the sort of practical way and be like, okay, this really does change a person, and not only for people who are going through treatments as well too, but also people who are around them, so that they can have some empathy and understand that what a person's going through is not easy. So that's why I wanted to establish, like, you lived a full life. You were fine. You had to be physically capable to do your job. You had to be emotionally on there. You had to be intellectually sharp to do things. Also, you ride a motorcycle. And now that you were going through, would you say 5 years of treatments?
Yeah, I'm cancer-free 5 years.
Amazing.
But I'm still, my entire life is nothing but doctors and tests and scheduling and dealing with all this, and because I couldn't work, I lost my house. And after a while, I wound up in a homeless shelter. Then they pushed me out of there because you're only supposed to stay there so long, and wound up in a house where all men, where there were fist fights all the time and guys selling drugs. So I moved to another house, which they all ended up, at first they were great, and then now from what I hear, they're all doing crack. So now I'm living 2 doors down from where my old house, in a neighbor's house. I'm sleeping on his kitchen floor.
And you're still doing cancer treatments?
Yeah.
So.
And there's help for people with AIDS or mental health problems or re-entering from incarceration, or for families, but there's nothing for someone like me.
Who's going through cancer treatments?
Yeah, I just got sick and I can't work and lost my house. And so now I'm on disability.
Isn't it something? And I hear that disability does not really pay much.
It got raised. Total, I'm getting like $943.
But if you live in any metropolitan area, that's nothing. Right?
Yeah, actually, if I went back to living in the homeless shelter, they would make me pay $600 a month rent.
Mm-hmm. And where you don't have, you have to share a space and everything else.
Well, how are you supposed to live then on $340 a month?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, with a phone bill and
and
just
gas,
basic stuff.
Gas to get back and forth to your appointments, right?
Oh yeah.
Are you able to still ride your motorcycle? Okay, because that's your mode of transportation, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there is medical transportation available, but it's so bad that even the best company, I gave them another shot the last time. They never showed up. They called me at 4:30 when I had the appointment, saying they'd be there in an hour and a half. I'm like, you get 15 minutes at a doctor's office, then you're gone. So don't bother, you know. And that was the best company around. So I just take myself now.
Are they just overwhelmed with other patients they have to pick up?
Yeah, they don't have enough drivers because they have so much work to do.
Oh, so it has to do with not having enough. It's the workforce.
Yeah.
Wow. And then also traffic in Long Island is ridiculous, right?
Oh yeah, it's just getting worse every year.
Oh my goodness.
Nothing like when we were kids.
No. So we need to have a redefinition of how we're treating not only our active cancer patients, but post-cancer, and treat it like a real disability, because once you have cancer, you really are redefined, and it doesn't just go away. Like, you feel the effects of it mentally, emotionally, physically, right? It's still lingering, especially as you get older, no?
Well, I had to stretch my arm last night because it's still cramped. My chest cramps up. And if I don't get on top of it early, like, I need to go for a massage. I can't afford it right now.
I know I've been a massage therapist for almost 30 years, right? And I actually got into it about the same time that I got diagnosed with cancer. And even being at that time, there was a stigma about touching someone who had cancer. And so I felt almost like a leper. Nobody wanted to touch me. So I wound up defaulting to getting acupuncture. And I know for me, that was a lifesaver. So what works, what has worked, and what does work for you?
Well, I mean, if I'm able to go for a massage, then what I've done is figured out that what really works is then afterwards, like an hour later, I'll go for a float and deprivation tank, because I just have like this deep relaxation, and it's absolutely pointless to go if I haven't had a massage, because the first time I went, it was just layers and layers of trying to realize how much pain my whole body is in all the time, that I've just closed out, because nobody wants to hear about it, and I don't want to take all the meds, you know. Yeah. I mean, I would never go to the toilet. I would be so constipated, because all they want to do is put you on that stuff.
Yeah.
I've cut down my gabapentin, because I'd rather be in a little bit of pain than being on on the dosages that they want me on.
Yeah.
And by doing that, actually, my hair all finally grew back on my arms and legs and stuff.
So gabapentin. Wait, what made your hair fall out? Was it the Lupron, tamoxifen?
Well, no, the chemo. But then I'm on like 18 different medicines every day now.
Wow. Now, was that for other things or mainly for the cancer?
Well, the chemo, the last chemo, the Taxol, not only was I allergic to it, where I had to take 2 days prior to treatment, I had to take orally steroids, but when one of those big vials that fills up the palm of your hand, then they would shoot me up with that right before they would give me the 3 or 4 vials, like those turkey baster needles worth of that. and the nurses call it the red devil or red demon.
Wait a second. So
And,
you wait. Hold on a second. You did adriamycin or doxyrubin?
the Taxol is what I was allergic to, and
Yeah.
that gave me congestive heart failure.
But the red
So
devil.
the other meds that I'm on.
Yeah, the red devil is
The other meds I'm
adriamycin
on.
or doxyrubin.
Yeah, yeah,
Did you take that?
yeah.
So you have to test your heart first, because that's what I did too. It looks like Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah. Well, dark Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they give you an ice pop while you're taking it, because if they don't, then your mouth can break out in blisters and sores. But they found out by eating an ice pop while you're taking it, it can avoid that. I had hiccups for 4 days straight, nonstop.
Now that's concerning. I mean, you could really...
It's a little exhausting when you got your hiccups waking you up in your sleep, or trying to fall asleep with hiccups, but you get so exhausted.
Exactly. They didn't do anything about that.
Eventually they gave me something.
Oh my God.
But it took I used to talk to one of the infusion nurses, and she said, well, try this, try that. I said, well, I had heard pickle juice. So she said, where the hell did you get that? I said, oh, it was an experiment in the back of the refrigerator. She said, oh my God, we're trying to make you better, not worse.
Oh my God. So,
but I just trying different stuff until they gave me like this cough medicine looking stuff, and it worked.
And that stopped the hiccups.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I wonder if it has to do with the sweetener in the cough medicine, because whenever I have hiccups, I take a little bit of honey, and that stops the spasm in the diaphragm. I don't know what it is about it, but it has to be something sweet, and it stops the spasm. And then I told you...
Well, I've been reading more about honey and how incredibly healing honey is, especially for skin wounds.
Yes, we're talking about the Manuka honey. And I don't know what it is about Manuka honey specific, but I have a friend of mine whose husband was in the hospital with MRSA, and they used that to treat his MRSA, was with Manuka honey. So, I mean, you hear these stories, but this was someone I know directly, which is pretty cool. Yeah, they use for wounds and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I mean, this one, you know, you can just be regular local honey. It doesn't have to be the expensive Manuka. And I just take a teaspoon of it, and then for some reason the spasm goes away. And then I told you with the acid, I got such bad acid, and I was using Chewy Tums. I'll send you a picture of the bag later. But for some reason, the Chewies worked well. If you use the dry chalky tabs, it doesn't do anything, or at least not for me. And the acid...
Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with now, is my gut.
Acid?
And what I realized is probably, no, you've got the acid. I've got some weird thing going on. And I guess it's because I'm like so stressed and feeling like crap that I'm not eating. And I'm taking all these medicines. So it just came back yesterday, because I haven't had it, like, I didn't eat for 2 days. I had a cookie one day, and I had a piece of bread the other day.
That's another thing too, right? That's the last thing that you want to do is cook, right?
Yeah. But I found, like, when I was eating, it went away, because a mutual friend who's a naturopath, he gave me 2 things that I actually ended up buying off of Amazon. Calcanica, something like that.
Okay.
And
is it
you take a couple of these. It's those little pills, you know, you turn the vial and it drops out, and then you put them under your tongue.
Oh.
And that helps the gut.
Okay. Really?
And then he had me on cell salts.
Yep.
To help me have some energy, because I had like zero energy.
Wow.
So he has me on that, but I haven't been able to afford that either, you know. So now stuff is coming back, and I'm not, you know, I haven't been taking that. I haven't been eating, and now I got the problem. I mean, when it first started, I was waking up in the middle of the night because I was throwing up.
Yeah.
Because there was just so much problems with my gut.
Yeah.
And it's not my stomach. It's something going on with my gut. And I guess it's just too much medicine, you know.
So,
They still don't know. They still. I just had a CAT scan, and now they want to. I'm going to have lined up for an endoscopy and colonoscopy, but the CAT scan didn't show anything.
wow. So isn't that crazy? I mean, you go in there and you say, I've got these problems, you know, they're manifesting, I'm not going out of my mind, but they're not finding anything.
Yeah.
So now you have to do a full workup. What do you do? I always like to, you know, let people know, you know, we have everybody's has a story, everybody has something that they're going through, and it's not easy. And you clearly, you know, you had one life before cancer, and now this is your life with cancer. You were also a skydiver, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So are you able to work? Are you able to skydive? Are you able to, you know, do you have limitations riding your motorcycle?
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised that I wasn't, you know, still in bed today after yesterday. It was such a long trip that I took, you know, into the city and back, and meeting with someone, and but no, I can't skydive. I can't work. I tried doing stuff. I can, you know, that's the problem, is the heart. I don't have the energy. I still have the strength, but I don't have the energy, the stamina, and
Yeah.
it's so I reached out to the Department of Labor this week, and they turned me on to somebody else about continuing education, because the government will pay for it to learn something new. So I want to know. I know what I want to do. I'd like to work with dogs. I'd like to do scent training. You know, I'd like to maybe work in an airport with dogs. You know, sniffing the luggage and stuff. I thought that would be something that I could do.
Yeah.
See, but that's something that I would like to do. I already had a career that I liked. You know, maybe I need to go, you know, drive heavy equipment or something just to have a job. You know, something that's where people are actually needed in that industry, you know, instead of something making me feel good, you know, and then I could afford to go skydiving.
Oh,
hopefully.
I see. Yeah, but you love dogs, and that's just amazing. I love the fact that I mean, you're taking, let's just face it, I mean, cancer sucks. And you're taking this situation, and it basically sucker punches you, it just drop kicks you right in the gut. And when your gut is off, you can't think, you don't have any energy, and it just creates this whole other reality. So,
and people tell you that there's nothing wrong with you, and why don't you just get up and go for a walk? And, you know, I mean, when I got the cancer, I lost my closest friends. And I still haven't talked to the one person. And I've learned that I guess just people can't handle it, and some people are weak.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, I did take a class over the summer, and it was all men, and I went to the first day. I couldn't make it the next day because I was thrown up all day because of my gut.
Yeah.
And this is a class I had to pay for and travel out of state to. And then I managed to go the last day, and the look on everybody's face was fear, because they didn't want to talk to me. They didn't know how to talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, so you get shunned just because, you know, I just told the instructors, like, look, you know, got cancer, blah, 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 you know, but they ended up telling the whole class. It's like, okay, you know, but I didn't think we'd take a lunch break. I thought somebody would offer me a ride to the deli. No, I had to pack up all my crap on the motorcycle and go all by myself.
Yeah.
You know, but people they're not thinking, you know.
They're not thinking.
And now, even now, other people, they 4 years now, they think, oh, well, you know, the chemo, the surgery, the radiation, you know, it's all over with. You're all better. That's it. You know, clap your hands and you know, so you're all better. Move on with your life. You know, don't feel so sorry for yourself. It's like it's been nonstop 5 years of nothing but doctors. And that's what's getting to me mentally.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it doesn't just end with that. And sometimes I think, through this whole journey myself, it seems like you can only be with someone to the extent that you've been with that subject or topic yourself, right? As much as you've explored it. So if someone is terrified of their mortality, there's no way they can sit with someone with death or the impending death or whatever it is, right? Which is weird because we're all, as soon as we're born, we're heading in that trajectory to die, right? So, but it's been like that since time began. Whenever you see an old person or a sick person, it takes a strong person and someone who's already investigated their own abilities to that. So,
the best thing that anybody told me was what you told me, was that you'll never be the same person again. And that has just given me so much mental freedom that I don't, because I was trying to get back to where I was, and you're never going to.
No, this is the new norm.
You can get back to something similar, but you're not going to be the same person. And so now I just think differently, I act differently, and I don't, I just don't get wrapped up in stuff. I don't care. I talk to people and they're like, oh, you seem indifferent. You say, yeah, because I don't care. That doesn't affect me, and I can't affect it. So who cares? I want to move on. I want to move forward. The only way I'm getting through all this crap every day is I try and move forward. Even if I'm really sick, I make a phone call, make an appointment. So every day I move forward and be grateful. Move forward and be grateful every day. That's what I'm able to do, and that's what gets me through all this.
Seamus Rutherford was a live sound engineer for over 35 years. He did everything from Ronald Reagan's birthday party, working with Margaret Thatcher, even Princess Diana. And he did Mariah Carey's private parties. Amazing, right? And private events, I believe he said Versace, right? Where he mixed Elton John, Madonna, Whitney Houston, and John Bon Jovi at the Met. I mean, so super cool. And this was his life before he was redefined